Take your career to the next level. The University of South Florida, St. Petersburg is offering a master's degree in digital journalism and design. Do the entire program from home and complete it in as little as 1 year. For more information, email journalism@usf.edu or call 727-873-4544. The cost is reasonable. The experience is invaluable.
Ladies, if you're over 50, the best is yet to come. It is time to embrace life's next chapter with passion, purpose, and confidence. Let's have some fun and live our best lives by hearing inspirational stories from women who have succeeded. And let's add a spark with important information on navigating our post-50s life. This is the Fierce, Feisty, and 50-Plus podcast with your host, television personality, social influencer, and the winner of 5 national pageant titles, Sierra Patrica Scott.
Hello, everyone. We have a very fun show for you today. In our Wisdom Warriors, we have advice for women who've gone through a divorce or are going through a divorce. And in our Women on a Mission, we talk to a 69-year-old woman who is leading one of the biggest tech schools in the nation. In our Women on a Mission, we focus on women who've not only had incredible careers, but are continuing to innovate and create. And our next guest is a powerhouse in education. Dr. Sheree Utash leads one of the top tech schools in the nation. When she began her career at WSU Tech, there were about 800 students. Now there are close to 10,000, and it's continuing to grow. So at 69 years old, she's still innovating, creating, and setting goals. So Sheree, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Thank you, Sarah. Sierra, really great to be here with you.
Well, one of the things, Sheree, because Dr. Utash, you have really gone out of your way to innovate and create. How do you do that? What comes inside of you that makes you want to do that?
Well, I work in education, which is, and I didn't come from an education background, but I've been doing it for 30 years. But I came from business and industry and an entrepreneur. And I think those qualities that I bring into education makes me kind of a natural disruptor of education. And I have been fortunate enough to land in a place that really welcomes that, invites it, it encourages that to happen. And so I think it's the fact that I look back on my personal time in education and think about how it could have been better engaging for me, because I was not maybe your traditional learner. And so I just keep thinking about how do we create education as a marketplace almost, where people can shop and choose what they want to get from education from K through 16. And I think that becomes the innovation of where we're headed. And we're just thrilled to be on the cutting edge of that. But I do think that, parents and students and employers are all looking for something new, and that's part of the drive, and probably just like my background helps me be able to come up with those great ideas. And then I have a wonderful team of people that are super good at the details and implementation.
You do have an incredible team. There's no doubt about it. And I know you don't like to take credit just for yourself, but I know there had to be some obstacles that you encountered along the way. How did you overcome them? What were some of the bigger obstacles? And do you feel like you had a harder time as a female doing it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll start with, yes, I think oftentimes females have a harder time in that work of disruption and creativity and innovation. I think sometimes women have a little harder time because it's a more aggressive move. And I think sometimes that becomes, I think it's becoming easier for females. I don't want to say it's easy, but I think it's becoming better because there's so many of us across the nation that are engaging in that kind of innovation and new creativity in whatever industry we work in. I will say that, I think you have to understand what your level and your comfort for risk is. And so I think being a risk taker, a calculated risk taker, just not a you know, unabandoned risk taker, but being a calculated risk taker, I think has been the key to moving things forward. And I also think, being surrounded by people that understand that, and understanding, my board's ability to tolerate risk and have, and risk and university president, Wichita State, his capability and capacity for risk. Because if you don't take risk, you're not going to make any kind of changes. And I'm not saying be, crazy about it, but being a risk taker is super important, and being committed to the purpose. So you start with the plan, and frankly, you live the plan through. And if you have to change the plan, you still believe the plan was a good one, and you still lead that way. You still believe in where you were headed and what you were doing. And if you have to change it or tweak it, leadership in my estimation, really is about, showing purpose, integrity, and generosity. And so when you think about infusing that in everything that you're doing and doing it for the right reasons, I I would say, that when we affiliated with Wichita State University, we're the only college in the nation that has an affiliation like we do. There's a lot of mergers, there's a lot of things like that happening in higher ed, but our affiliation is very, very unique. And that was hard work, because we were really trying to preserve the responsiveness, the agility, and the quickness of what we do as we engage with employers that might not always work in a system of higher education. So there were a lot of really complicated conversations that happened during there. And it was risky for a lot of our employees. I mean, I just kept saying, we're going into this, it's going to be okay. And fortunately, I'd been here long enough that I could use the words, please trust me, just please trust me, it's going to be okay. And that bought me some time, and bought me some good cred through that. But that was a big change, and that was a real innovation for both Wichita State University and WSU Tech. And we have seen a lot of really good things happen from that, and certainly things that we never would have guessed. When Dr. Bardo and I started first having those conversations, I think about this a lot. He unfortunately, he was not able to see so much of what's happened, because, he passed away very early in the affiliation, within that first year, actually. And so I often think about it, and I often think about him, and I think about, I hope he's happy with what's happened.
Oh, he's got to be. I think everybody in the entire area is happy, and maybe the United States, honestly, is happy with that. And by the way, congratulations on your Junior Achievement Hall of Fame Award.
Thank you.
You've won so many honors, but is there one that you're most proud of, and why?
So I will tell you that the Junior Achievement last night, was a great award, just because it's always pointed to business people, as it should be, and it's rarely been pointed to educators. And so as educators, I'm a very business minded educator. And as we, create more and more of that in our industry, that was really very, very special. And the other one is being inducted into the Kansas Aviation Hall of Fame. I mean, that was very unexpected, as was the Junior Achievement as well. But to be recognized with those icons, like, two that we have lost just in the last week, Ron Ryan and Russ Meyer, to be a part of that fabric, at the Kansas Aviation Hall of Fame, that incredible honor. I'm just truly I'm just so grateful, and I'm truly humbled to be able to do the work that I've done. And it's not, and it's all because I'm surrounded just with incredible people doing incredible things. And they really, everybody shows up every day to do what they need to do to help students be successful, employers be successful, and create excellence.
Well, one of the things, Sherry, too, and that, by the way, the award was well deserved. But one of the things that I truly, truly admire about you is that you have managed to achieve so much, yet you achieve a work-life balance. I've never seen anybody that is better about spending time with their family. How do you balance those two things, and what advice do you give to somebody out there?
Well, I would say to you that I'm certainly not the poster child for it. I have worked my way to this because I was not really good about it years ago, but it's intentionality and it's finding harmony. There's no balance. There's just not. Some days some weeks the bear is going to get you, other weeks you're going to get the bear. So there's not a balance. And if you think about a teeter-totter and a balance, you're never going to, that's not, but you can find harmony. You can find harmony. And that's what I think that's where I finally have found my stride in this, is through trying to figure out what harmony looks like for me between work and my personal life, and intentionality of being very intentional where I spend my time, and then being intentional when I'm in those moments, in those times, that I am very focused on whomever I'm with or whatever I'm doing. I am super fortunate. My parents are still living. They're 95 and 93. I spend a lot of intentional time with them, and it's a treasure and it's a gift and it's a privilege that, I don't take lightly. And then, David and I have 5 kids, and we have 7 grandkids, so we chase around everywhere. It's kind of like we were back in the day with our 5 kids. Every Sunday night we'd go, okay, we got to divide and conquer because one of us needs to be here, one of us needs to be here. And now with 7 grandkids doing all kinds of things, we kind of do the same thing. It's kind of like deja vu. But being very intentional in those moments, because at the end of the day, it is all about the quality and not the quantity. It's the quality. And I think that's where both harmony and intentionality. So I think those are 2 things that I would say. And boy, I tell you, young professional women are juggling so much. And I know that, and I remember it. And what I also say is grace. You got to give yourself some grace, and you have to understand there are seasons of life. I tell my own girls, this is a season where you are just overwhelmed, and you're not going to be able to engage as much in the community and do the things that you want to do. That season will come, and give yourself grace right now. Find something you can plug into in a small amount of way, because you have you have tiny humans to build, and that's super important. So invest your time there. And again, I just try, and I'm trying to role model this because of my daughters. I want them to see that it is possible and you can do it. And I also just want to help people get there sooner than I got there.
Well, and I think it makes you a better leader when you balance all that out. So, Sheree, Dr. Utash, thank you. I'm so grateful to you. And that was such great advice. And I just can't wait to see where you go next.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate being on here. And, I follow you. I adore you. I think you are a fabulous advocate for Wichita. And I love what you're doing with this podcast. And
Thank you.
It's my honor to be here.
That means the world to me coming from you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Coming up next, an important conversation on a topic that affects the majority of women over 50.
At Douglas Investment Group, we understand that managing wealth isn't just about numbers. It's about protecting what matters most to you. For high net worth families, we're more than advisors. We're your trusted partner. Douglas Investment Group, your financial sounding board for sound advice. Visit us today at www.douglasgroup.net or call 316-854-8495.
In our Wisdom Warriors, we focus on women who have had wonderful experiences and have great advice to give us that will help make sure we live our best lives. But in Cheryl Barbagallo's example, what she went through wasn't necessarily a positive thing, but rather than wallow in it, feel sorry for herself, she decided to use that experience to help others. And at 63 years old, she now has a podcast called Becoming Her Now. And Cheryl, I'm so excited to talk to you about this.
I'm excited to be here. Thank
Well,
you.
you're such a positive person. I just love this. You know, you really shared a powerful part of your life, and maybe a time that most people are very vulnerable. What made you decide to share that?
After my divorce, I realized that a lot of women, or any change in life, losing a spouse or whatever, a lot of women stayed victim. And at this stage in life, vulnerability doesn't scare me as much as silence does. And I feel women go silent. And I wanted women to see that starting over at 60, 63, whatever, isn't the end of the story. It can be actually be the beginning. And
I
that's
love
where
it.
it started from.
I love that because I think it takes bravery to kind of pivot and make a change. So, what inside you did you have to overcome to kind of make that pivot?
Actually, it was watching other women staying in where they were. And a light switch clicked off. I was on a meetup group, and the same women were on there for 2 and 3 years. I had just joined about divorce and all this. I slapped down my laptop. I said, that's not going to be me. And that's
I,
what it was. And that's what I realized, that women think they're supposed to be stuck.
and it is amazing when we get stuck because once you become a victim and you call yourself a victim, you get stuck in that victimhood and you can't get out. It's an awful cycle if you don't learn that there are ways to get out. What are some of the ways that you use to get out of that cycle?
I didn't listen to anybody else. I closed myself in a room, learned about meditation, sat in nature, found out that boundaries exist, found out that people that telling you that it's going to be okay have no clue, and you have to do it yourself. And that's what I did.
You know, and that is the biggest thing. I think a lot of people don't take responsibility for themselves. And it's interesting when you finally do, the power you have when you make that choice. It's incredible. Well, what message do you think, because you've put a lot out there, what do you think the message that women have connected to most with you?
I think the message that connects most with me is just you're okay where you're at. It's okay to be at that stage. It's okay to feel those emotions. It's okay to cry in the shower. It's okay to do all that. And that helps you move on. And people don't understand that.
Well, and you have some pretty hard-earned goals and achievements that you've achieved. What advice would you give to a woman who is trying to start that new chapter?
Go back to what she always wanted to be. Think about when she was 16. Who did she want to be? And she stopped that dream for somebody else. And she became a label to somebody else, a wife, a mom, a vice president, whatever that might be. She lived for those labels. And now she's got to throw those labels away and figure out who she wants to be and do it. And I believe in that strongly. I'm still trying to figure this out, and I'm going to blow this out of the water somehow.
I love it. I love your attitude. I think it's fantastic that you're always looking for something. Are there some goals out there now that you've set that you want to achieve that you haven't yet?
I want to brand myself with the Becoming Her Now. What that looks like, I don't know yet, but it's in there deep down somewhere, and it's going to come out one day. I'm going to wake up and it's going to be there. And that's what it's about. It's about living a dream and making it come true, putting a little piece of your heart out there into the world. Who wants to hear it? But I trust that the right women or the right people will, and that's why I do it.
And I think that's amazing because a lot of people, like we said, wallow in it, and you found a positive in it. What inside of you do you think allowed you to do that? Were you always that person growing up, or how did you find it?
I think I was a little bit, but I got pushed aside. And I was always strong. I always ran businesses. I'm an entrepreneur. But I think it went deeper than that. I think it was, I have a message and I don't have anybody telling me what to do or not to do anymore. I could put that message out. And that's what did it. And I thank God every day that what happened to me happened to me. I
Isn't that
do.
funny? And I think a lot of people say that. I've talked to all sorts of people that have what is perceived as the worst thing that ever happened to them. They look back in hindsight and say, oh, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it made me become this.
Yes. I'm a better person. I'm a better mom. I'm a better everything.
Yeah.
And I own it.
I love that. Cheryl, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. My gosh, you have inspired me, and I know you inspire many, many others.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a fierce and feisty final thought. One of the best ways to start your day off right is to start it immediately on a positive note. And a great way to do that is don't set your alarm so you can sleep to the last moment. Set your alarm 30 minutes earlier. And during that time, come into the day slowly, read a positive mental attitude book or some book that inspires you or motivates you or gets you excited about the day. And your day will go much better. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or Google, well, you can also watch us on YouTube. And please leave us a positive review and also share with your friends so they can benefit from this uplifting and inspiring advice. And don't forget to go to our website at Fierce, Feisty, and 50 Plus. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Have a fierce and feisty day. I'm Sierra Patricia Scott.
Thank you for listening. The views and opinions of this episode's guest and the host are not associated with nor reflect those of the University of South Florida. The podcast is produced by the Department of Journalism and Digital Communication at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. Executive producers are Elliot Weiser and Sierra Patricia Scott. Producer is Stephanie Broughton. Production assistant is Ariel Nagus. The director is Christopher Campbell. And a special thank you to PBS Kansas. I'm Jamel Holoparik. Thank you for joining us.